And hello my fellow Vault Dwellers, and welcome to another Fallout 76 video. Now in today's video we are going to be going over the latest patch to drop for Fallout 76, as it is currently January the 10th, just an hour or two after the drop. And I wanted to go over some of the notes with you guys just to kind of keep you guys a little informed of what's going on in case you don't like to dive deep into it. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to continue playing my newest character, a two-handed heavy. Now, they decided that they were going to drop them today for PC, and the console players will be getting the patches next week. So you can expect the same patch notes to carry over to then as per Bethesda's own post on Reddit. Now, if you want to go read the notes yourself, you can go to Bethesda's blog, Fallout 76 blog. You can look at the launcher, or you can go to Reddit. They did post it officially on their account there, and you can see it for yourself there as well. Now, let's go ahead and dive into the meat and potatoes of what's going on, okay? So, first of all, we've got some general patch fixes. Now, the first one, and a big one that I am really hoping is awesome, is apparently power armor lights have been made brighter. Now, if you played with power armor quite a bit before this patch, you probably were of the mind that the light from this was pathetic compared to the light that you would get from your Pip-Boy. So your Pip-Boy would throw off basically a flood of light around you, and then the light on your power armor was so weak that it didn't even seem worth it. If you were in dark caves, I actually have made videos where I would get out of my power armor to go explore on foot using the Pip-Boy light until I found what I needed and then jump back in my power armor. So we're going to go ahead and test that out real quick. And as you can see, the light is much better. Oh, that is so much brighter. Before, it used to be like 1/4 of this. It was just this little sliver pen light of light. And now, it's actually really, really good. So as you can see, the light on power armor is good. I am in the level 15 Raider power armor. I have not tested the other ones yet. But if it's looking this good on this one, I'm sure it's just fine on the other ones as well. So, let me know what you guys think about this one huge quality of life difference in the comments down below. I would love to hear your feedback on this and whatever else you might be thinking. Now, the next couple of points that they talk about are that several improvements have been made to in-game performance, and that the Fallout 76 game client and servers have received additional stability improvements. Now, everyone who has played this game has had some type of issue with disconnects and things like that, and while we know that some of them are because of people who have been taking advantage of exploits and causing undue stress on servers, some of it is also because of how quickly the game appears to have been rushed. Now, for many of us that are still playing the game, we haven't let its defects and its problems detract from the actual fun that we're having with it, which is why we're still playing it. However, that doesn't mean that we don't want to see it get better. Now, I haven't had any crashes in the last couple of hours since coming back to the game, but I also am one of the few people who have not had much in the way of game-breaking bugs or super, super laggy crashing, anything like that. I will be playing it the rest of today to fully test this a little bit more, and I plan on doing some server hopping with friends to launch nukes at the Scorchbeast Queen tonight, because that'll be a really good test of how stable they are now, since that was one of the most common areas where me and my friends kept getting disconnected. Okay. Now, the next set of points that they go over are balancing issues. Now, this is going to cause some problem. Like, this is going to be a big controversial area. The first portion of this is not a big deal. Pretty nice for those who are using Gatling lasers, and that is a Charging Barrels mod. Has increased the Gatling lasers damage bonus from the Charging Barrels mod. So apparently that was not doing a proper damage increase, and now it should be. I don't use the laser weapons very much because they just seem kind of weak in general compared to other builds, so I don't really have a lot of information beyond that. The glowing ones. Glowing ones will no longer grant erroneous large amounts of XP. And there's a side note here, dev note. Glowing ones were granting large boss XP rewards, making them highly exploitable when combined with nuke zones. This makes sense. Now, we all knew that glowing ones at White Springs were the absolute best way to farm XP, and honestly a pretty good way to farm loot. Now that we understand that it's because they were marked as large bosses, as far as XP, and probably loot tables as well, because they did drop a crap ton of other stuff, that begins to make a lot more sense about why they were so good. So I've seen a couple of comments on Reddit already from people who have already been doing nuked White Springs since then, and now the XP is still better than regular ghouls, but it has been brought back down in line with where you would expect it. So it's about the same as level 68 super mutants in other nuked areas and other high-level mobs. Considering that the super mutant behemoth 3-star legendary was granting about 800 or 900 XP for a level 50 version, and you were still getting more from killing the ghouls at White Springs, I understand why that was nerfed. However, the big issue with this comes into the fact that there are a lot of players who have been playing this for many, many hours. I myself have over 300 hours in this game, and there are other players who have even more than that. And part of it is because they like this style of game. They like the fact that it's online multiplayer, but there really isn't any end game content besides the Scorch Beast Queen, which, if you've done her a few times, you pretty much know what to expect. It's not really end game content. So farming White Springs was how they were doing that. They were able to get some levels, have the ability to get all the perk cards, swap things out, test things around, play around with stuff, and it was fine. It didn't really hurt anything. Most builds are complete when they're in their 50s or 60s anyways, especially since you stop getting special points at level 50. So after that, it's all just bonus. So I don't understand why they felt the need to do that without giving some people something else to do in its stead. That's definitely going to bother people, and for people who aren't hardcore fans or who are not, who don't get enjoyment out of building multiple ads and multiple characters and, fiddling around with all the little stuff that this game has to do that are more progression based, that they want to have super powerful characters and have the highest levels possible because that's the enjoyment they get out of it, they're definitely not going to enjoy that change. I can already see calls for people looking for effective ways to level. I've had people commenting on my own videos about this, so I will be putting out videos of post-nerf circuits that you can do that have high amounts of enemies of higher level to get some efficient XP. Now, crafting, they lowered the chance of power generators of spawning fusion cores. I'm not sure if they were spawning too often before or what the deal was with that. It seemed like it was fine, but apparently they lowered how often the fusion generators you find in the wild are going to have cores, so they're probably going to become a little more rare. Crafting, they changed the set minimum component cost of workshop buildings requiring steel, wood, or plastic to 2. So anything that cost 1 before will now cost 2. They're probably doing that to help combat some of the capture a workshop, build a bunch of 1-cost items to get easy XP type of stuff and to lower that. And a big one, huge quality of life change for a lot of people. Bobby pins have been reduced in weight from 0.1 to 0.001 in weight. So you'll no longer have to make sure that you have like less than 15 of them, otherwise they're taking up a huge chunk of your inventory. That's a good change. I like that. That's a good one. Alright, now let's get down into the social tab. Now in social, teams. Players now receive a notification that players cannot form teams from within Vault 76 if an invite is sent to a friend still in Vault 76. So before, if you had a friend who was joining and they wanted to come play with you, and you sent them an invite, it wouldn't always register right away until they came out of the vault, and it would just kind of get lost in limbo. Now it at least gives you that warning. And a systems change. Opening player-owned locked containers will now be considered a PvP action as expected. So if you are in a workshop and you've got a bunch of stuff locked down and people pick the locks, apparently this will now flag them for PvP. So I don't know if that means that they will get bounties or if they will just get flagged for the other player to be able to attack, kind of like initiating slap damage against each other makes it so that you can both attack each other freely. So if anybody wants to test that and let me know in the comments down below, I would appreciate it. If I get any information updated, I will throw it into the comments section as well. That way it makes it easy for people to find. Alright, so we got bug fixes, stability and performance, Xbox One performance. Blowing up the mainframe core stations will no longer cause a performance drop. Probably a pretty big deal for console players. And a big one for me as a PC player, because this is a bug that I have encountered a couple of times. The PC Infinite Load fixed an infinite load screen that could occur when attempting to join a server on PC. This is one that I've seen a couple of times over the past couple of weeks. It wasn't common, but I did see it often enough that it would definitely get old. Any fixes that reduce the number of crashes are just going to infinitely make any experience in this game more enjoyable, so I welcome this. Let's see, performance. Oh, I'm sorry, crash. Fixed a crash that can occur when opening the Pip-Boy. That one I've never seen. Probably a pretty important one to have. I haven't had any of my friends have that particular issue either, but I'm sure if it's happened to you, it's probably very frustrating. Performance improved client performance when viewing a nuke explode. That's a good one. Performance fixed an issue when reading a note would cause the background to freeze. That's interesting. I've never seen that one, but another one I'm glad they fixed. And they increased performance in areas with a lot of scorched statues. Apparently scorched statues were causing some type of issue, which I wasn't aware of, and I hadn't seen anybody mention either, so hopefully that'll help resolve some of the problems for people. I'm hoping. If you guys noticed those issues before, if you could let me know in the comments down below, I'm curious, like how often it affected things, how badly it affected things, or maybe this is just something that people didn't even realize was happening and they just fixed it on the back end before it could be made known. I don't know. I'd like to know, though. If you've got more information, please share. Alright, so then we get to the general changes. They fixed an issue where items could be duplicated. So it sounds like they've managed to fix at least one duping method. I have a rough idea how they work just from reading forum posts and whatnot. I know that it usually involved dropping a lot of items into a bag and some other shenanigans, so me and friends used to go hunt people that were doing this. Hopefully this fixes that particular issue, and then as they continue to drop new content and levels are raised and better equipment comes out, all that equipment that is currently super flooding the market right now will become meaningless. So let's hope that that's the case and that they have content coming for us soon that will actually allow them to do that. Let's see, PC controls. Resetting controls to default no longer causes most activate prompts to become unusable. Haven't seen that one before, but glad they fixed it. Fixed an issue when controls in the settings menu aren't updated when connecting and disconnecting a gamepad controller. They also fixed an issue that allowed armor mods to reduce carry weight past intended values. I thought that they had already fixed that, but apparently there were still some issues with it, so I guess they took a second pass at it. Rads will no longer be completely removed when dying completely. Okay. Dying repeatedly, I'm sorry. So that's one that's going to affect people who were doing the death to get rid of rads trick when farming mutations. You can no longer just easily kill yourself to get rid of mass amounts of radiation. You do actually need to use RadAway, so it sounds like it'll take you down to a certain point on the bar, and then after that you're on your own, which is fair. Addressed an issue where players could load into geometry after fast travel. I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure what the loading of the geometry is. If somebody could update me on that or give me some insight, I would appreciate it. And the last one is one that I have seen. They fixed an issue where bashing an enemy with the railway rifle or the crossbow would add the projectile to the enemy's inventory. Now, both of those weapons, when you shoot an enemy with them, they have a chance for the ammo to still be in the enemy's inventory so that you can recover it and keep using it, which is one of the benefits of both of those weapons. Well, if you went up and bashed enemies with them, you could give yourself basically infinite ammo off of it. There is still an issue, which they do not mention having fixed, where if you do a railway rifle with flechette rounds, you can also give yourself, a harpoon gun with flechette rounds. You can give yourself multiple harpoons, basically giving yourself infinite ammo on that. So hopefully that gets taken care of in the future as well. But until then, it's a good weapon to use because you don't really have to find and make ammo. Alright, so we got a couple of art and graphics fixes. First one is a common one that people have been upset about since Fallout 4. That is the lever action rifle. The lever action rifle now only reloads the correct number of ammo. Before, if you shot a single round out of its entire magazine and you hit the reload button, it would reload the full magazine as though it was a completely empty weapon. And that was a huge issue, especially since a lot of people in shooter games like this one, you get into the habit, especially with like guns like the shotgun, where as soon as you use a round on the pump shotgun, you go ahead and refill that round. That way you've still got a full gun for when you need it. Well, that's how the lever action was supposed to work, and it hasn't, and now it does apparently. So good to know. Good that they're looking out. I'm glad that it's working that way. So let me know what you guys think about that one. That should make a lot of people really happy. And then they made it so that consumed berry mentats now correctly show purple glowing auras around creatures and players. So I've never used them. I didn't notice that they were putting up auras or anything. So apparently they are now working as intended if that was something that you wanted. Might be useful in PvP for people that are stealthy. I'm not really sure how it would work with that, but if you want to test it and let me know, I would appreciate it. And then we got a whole mess of changes to camps, workshops, and crafting. First one, crafting. Level 25 armor and above now requires ballistic fiber to craft. That makes sense. It was pretty much 20 before, I think. Level 20 and above, so it looks like they might have fixed that a little bit. Component quantities required to repair mid to high level armor. And weapons have been reduced by up to 20%. And there's a dev note. Repair costs scale with level, and there's room to reduce costs at higher levels. So it looks like they're telling people basically, if you don't like how much it costs to repair, take the perks. Which a lot of us have been saying for a while. There are certain perks that you always want to take because they just make your life easier endgame. White Knight is one of them. Weapon Artisan is one of them. Any of the other perks that over-repair weapons and armor you definitely want because it makes things easier. So you're going to have to start taking those if you want those benefits. Let's see. Crafting. Ballistic fiber becomes required for armor at level 25 instead of previously at level 20. What? I'm aware. Ballistic fiber becomes required for armor at level 25 instead of previously at level 20. Let's see. Updated bulk acid crafting recipe to require 15 acid. So before, when you did the bulking of acid, it only took 10 acid, and then when you scrapped it down, you would get 15. So it was okay, but it was a 5% net gain, which, considering how hard acid can be to get sometimes if everyone is all farming it, I knew it was a bug, but it was one of those things where it didn't really seem all that important compared to all the other game-breaking things that were out there. But, you know, it's fixed now, so you're definitely going to have to pay more attention to farming up some acid if you want to do mass amounts of ammo. They fixed an issue that prevented players with the correctly equipped perk cards from being able to craft antibiotics and disease cure, Savage Divide. So it sounds like that's finally been taken care of. I knew about that one. Knew it was an issue for a lot of people. Most people didn't notice because a lot of people just don't really craft up stuff like that in this game. Diseases really aren't as big of a deal in this game as people originally thought they were going to be, so it was never really a problem. Let's see, crafting. Hardened mass will no longer be scrapped when scrap all junk is selected. That is huge, because a lot of people were saving hardened mass so that they could do stabilized flux and things like that, so they needed it for crafting, and if they went in and did scrap all on accident, poof, it's all gone and turned into ultracite. So that makes it a lot easier for people to be able to farm up what they want and take care of what they need. Let's see, ballistic fiber, yeah, we already know that one. Workshops, fixed issues where enemies at some workshop locations would spawn underground, making the workshops unclaimable. This one was one that I have seen multiple times and is actually a reason why I have server hopped. I've been forced into server hopping off of several servers because I would go to claim the 3 or 4 workshops that I like to take in the 4 corners of the map so that I've got free travel all over while I'm doing various circuits of things. And if I couldn't capture it, it would just force me to move to another server because I wasn't going to stand for it. It was a minor bug, but still one I'm glad that they've gotten around to fixing quickly. Let's see. They fixed an issue where objects in workshops would sometimes float in the air when the workshop menu was closed. That one I hadn't seen before, but I'm glad they got to it. Destroying the hay feeder along with the fertilizer collector will no longer prevent them from being repaired. That's a good one. I hadn't heard that that was a bug, but I could see where people that are in the know would definitely be abusing that, so I'm glad that that's taken care of. Fixed an issue that would cause a not supported error when attempting to place a tall or short post under a roof. I'd never played with it enough to really see that, but I'm glad that that's taken care of. Blueprints. They fixed an issue with the cost of wires not being factored in when storing blueprints. That's one that people were aware of. Fixed an issue where certain objects aren't able to be scrapped through the stored tab. That was good because of all their buggy duping crap going on with things in your storage. You might get stuck with stuff and it was using up some of your camp budget. So depending upon what got glitched out, you may have a bunch of turrets you can't get rid of, and now you can't really do anything because they're a huge part of your budget. So with that being fixed, that should make a lot of the base builders much happier. It'll make me a lot happier just because now it's not going to be cluttering up my screen. Fixed a visual issue with scrapping items and crafting menus. They fixed an issue where mods cost less steel than what's displayed in the crafting menu. Okay, that's interesting. Never noticed that. And they fixed a display issue where incorrect number of junk items can appear in crafting menus. That one I've seen before. Alright, so it looks like they fixed a bunch of challenges as well. Daily challenges. They fixed several daily challenges that were not being offered on some days. Let's see, dev notes. These include pick wildflowers, harvest mutfruit plants, and harvest wild plants and fungi. Okay. I guess that makes sense. Let's see, they fixed an issue that prevented some wildflowers from incrementing the pick wildflowers daily challenge. They fixed an issue with a weekly challenge that caused complete quests and events in a group at night to work during the day and only recognize events. So now it should be looking at the appropriate ones and only at night. They edited the description of a weekly challenge to correctly reflect the direction. They fixed an issue that prevented certain photo mode challenges from completing. They fixed an issue that prevented certain bobblehead challenges from completing. They fixed an issue that caused a challenge to be marked as complete incorrectly, and they fixed an issue where some lifetime challenges were reverting progress when you logged out. That's a big one because some of the lifetime challenges are pretty difficult. Like anytime you can make progress on them, sometimes it's pretty big. So if people were losing that and they were, completionists like a lot of us that play games like this are, that would definitely be a big no-no. That's a bozo no-no. So I'm glad that they fixed that. Let's see. Enemies got some fixes. The robots at White Springs were getting fixed so that they no longer spawn mass quantities of themselves, where there were little armies of all the robots running around, which is nice because that was causing some serious lag issues for a lot of different people. Let's see. Scorched. They fixed an issue where Wasteland Whisperer could affect Scorched. I'm assuming that that means that animals that have been turned into Scorched can no longer be affected by it, because I'm pretty sure that's what it was before. Shooting a Scorched in the leg will no longer break their weapon, causing them to not attack the player. I never noticed that before, but I guess that does kind of make sense that that was happening. I do play a shotgunner that uses Enforcer a lot, and it did seem pretty effective. And they fixed an issue that caused floating debris and disassembled guns to appear in Scorched's hands when killed. Okay, never noticed that one either, so I'm glad that they fixed it before it caused me any issues. Items. They fixed an issue that would sometimes cause plasma weapons, flamers, and flamer mods, and weapons with explosive bullet mods to not damage players and creatures. That one I've heard about. I don't play around with the two-shot explosive and all that, so I don't know how often it was happening. I'm sure there's other people here that could fill me in with the correct details, but apparently that is fixed. Although I have seen a couple of posts since the patch went live where people are claiming this is not the case, but I cannot confirm if it is or not. Could be console players that don't realize they didn't get the patch. Could be people that, I don't know, they're just trying to stir the pot. You know that there's quite a few of them for this. Armor. They fixed an issue that would sometimes cause players exiting armor to appear stretched and unable to re-enter power armor. So it sounds like they fixed the Wendigo Man glitch again. They said that they'd fixed it before, so it sounds like they're taking another whack at it, or they found another thing that was causing it. Hopefully it's fixed for good this time, so that people can stop having that issue that's ruining gameplay. They addressed several issues that would prevent players from exiting Power Armor and at times cause the Pip-Boy to become unavailable. This is a big one because I've seen several people who have quit the game over this particular bug where they would lose their Pip-Boy and jumping servers did not fix it. So maybe they'll be able to come back and continue playing because there's a couple of faces I would love to be able to see and play with again. Let's see, weapons. They fixed an issue that prevented the Gauss rifle from being identified as a rifle. Now rifle-related perks can be applied to the Gauss rifle. That's big, because the Gauss rifle's damage was pretty good before, but if now all the appropriate perks actually apply to it, it should see a noticeable uptick. So I would like to see some more ranged builds that are super viable. There's a lot of builds that are viable, and some are way more viable than others. I would like to see more OP viable builds, like the unarmed bloodied build, a lot of the melee bloodied builds that are running around right now. You know, I'd like to see some ranged variations of those that just wreck everything with very little thought, for current content at least. Once the new content drops, I'm hoping that the difficulty will scale up enough that the super high-end builds will actually be challenged again. That would be nice. Let's see what we got next. Alright, ammo vending machines fixed an issue where some of them were only selling repair components. Here's a big one. This is one that I've seen people asking about since the beta. Legendary hunting rifles will now drop as loot. This is amazing. One of the biggest problems that I had when I did my very first character, which was a sneaky rifleman build, was the fact that I couldn't get an endgame hunting rifle that was viable. Like, it just didn't exist. You had to get like a two-shot. You either had to get a two-shot of some kind, or you had to get the handcrafted, or you had to get a lever action, or you know, whatever. There were a bunch of different weapons, but none of them were what I wanted. I wanted a legit, you know, styled sniper rifle. I wanted, you know, like from my time in the military, I wanted a 50 caliber or a 308 sniper rifle. Bolt action, one shot, one kill, kill we will, let's rock these boys from a distance. And it just didn't exist. You could get a hunting rifle at level 50, but if you couldn't get the legendary perks on it, you'd always have a substandard build. So this fixed it. This will fix this. So let me know what kind of legendary hunting rifle you're going to be going for if you played the Snoop and Poop build. I'd like to see what you're getting and how you're building it. And if you get a really nice build for it, please share me. I would love to emulate it and play it and try it and give my honest feedback on it. All right, next we've got fixed an issue where the walking cane provided as many resources when scrapped as it cost to craft. Not a big problem. I don't understand why that was so important for them to fix this time, but hey, okay, whatever. You know, I'll take it. It's one less bug to worry about, I suppose. One less thing that people can find a way to abuse. Fixed an issue where some pocketed chest pieces were resetting players back to their base carry weight upon logging back into the game. That would be annoying. I'm glad that's gone. Fixed an issue where players can leave behind an unusable chassis after exiting Power Armor. This is one that I've seen a lot. I've seen this quite a bit. Hasn't affected me personally other than the landscape being littered with empty chassis that no one can use and are still there long after people leave. So hopefully that will help reduce some of that and help reduce some of the load lag that people have talked about. The Consuming Scout's Life number 6 magazine now correctly depletes food and water stats at a slower rate. I noticed this one because this is a magazine I thought was going to be fantastic. You know, use it before you go on a really long farming run, blah, 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 and it didn't work as intended, so it was kind of borked. I'm glad that they fixed it, so I will actually farm it and use it now. The M79 grenade launcher is now considered an explosive weapon in perks instead of being incorrectly considered a shotgun. They kind of fixed this before by making it so that it doesn't double dip into the perks. I don't know what this change means unless maybe they've reclassified it as an explosive so that other things later on down the road might affect it better. Not really sure what exactly that's going to mean going forward. Hopefully good things, but we'll wait. I'll have to hold off judgment on that one.
I actually kind of liked it the way it was before, just because it made the weapon actually viable. Explosive weapons right now, in general, seem to be actual explosive weapons, not like the explosive two shots and stuff, but like missile launchers, Fat Man launchers, a lot of grenades, the grenade launcher. They all seem to be very lackluster. Factor in the point where like you're only going to be able to shoot like maybe 10 rounds out of each one before they go boom, and they're not really worth using right now, unfortunately. I do still have to do a dedicated explosive build so that I can be 100% sure that this is the case, but currently from my experimentation with them with just the Demolitionist perk, that's kind of where I stand on it. They're just not worthwhile, unfortunately. They don't scale well. Ammunition is a real hassle for them, and you just can't do a viable build around it. You can't even do a viable secondary build around it. So, let's see. Fusion cores. They fixed an issue where fusion core generators were producing cores at a slower rate than intended. It's now back to 8 cores an hour. So, what they're talking about with this is if you ever took the power plants, the power stations, and repaired them, when you repair them outside and you claim the workshop, there are generators that you can hook power up to from the power plant, or you can just put a generator on it if you want. And when you do that, they will then start producing cores. They reduced it in a previous patch to so low where it just wasn't viable, and apparently it's back to normal again. So that's good. Alright, let's see here. The Backwoodsman 2 magazine now appropriately boosts tomahawk damage. I don't know, maybe people that use throwing weapons can explain to me if that's useful or not. I think the tomahawk does 100 damage without anything special. Or maybe 125, 150, I don't know. I know it's less than 200 damage per tomahawk, which, considering it's a thrown weapon, kind of seems really low. Maybe the magazine makes the damage viable? I'm not sure. If you guys could let me know how that works now, I'd appreciate it. Mirelurk eggs. Harvesting Mirelurk eggs will not result in 2 separate eggs. This is good. This is a glitch that I've seen, and if you go look at my Mirelurk egg farming video, where I showed a person on Reddit who was having trouble finding them a great spot to farm them, you'll see the glitch itself in action, where when I picked up an egg, it was creating a ghost duplicate inside of my inventory that I could not interact with. So that apparently is now fixed, which is great. I'm glad. Does not look like they fixed the infinite super mutant spawning out here at Grafton Mill, so this is still a pretty good place to farm XP as a lobby, as long as you've got power armor or some other way to take off the damage, or just lots of stim packs. Let's see. They fixed an issue where several combat rifle automatic receiver mods were prevented from receiving automatic rifle bonuses, perk bonuses. That's big, because the automatic rifles were all kind of weak to begin with. So if they fixed it so that they're receiving all the appropriate perks now, I might have to take another look at the automatic build. I've been wanting to do a plumber build based around automatic weapons for a while, so if the plumber pipe rifle is... well, let's take a look. I'll have to check it out. Fixed an issue where multiple weapons were able to be equipped at the same time. I hadn't seen of that one. Vampire weapon mod effect now only works when hitting living targets as intended. This is one that's going to affect a lot of people that are doing higher end content farming. A popular method that I've found for people to gain health when doing Scorch Beast Queens and the like is they will equip a fast swing weapon that has vampirism on it, so that they can swing it at the air to regain health. And apparently that is fixed now. So you now actually have to be hitting enemies to trigger the effect. Now, the only thing that makes me wonder, however, is can you still hit people in your same team to trigger the effect without doing damage to them? Or does it actually have to do damage to a living creature in order for it to trigger? So that's something else I'm going to test out. If you guys want to test it out, let me know in the comments down below. I would appreciate it. Save me a little bit of time. And I will update the notes with that information, giving you credit for having tested it for me. Alright, let's see what else we got. They fixed an issue where power armor parts would display on top of previously equipped parts. I've seen that. It happens very often when you get like super duper perks when you're crafting. They fixed an issue where bashing an enemy with certain weapons would add the projectile to the enemy's inventory. That one they already covered. Fusion cores will no longer replenish to full upon joining to another world. This is another huge one. With them continuing to make adjustments to how easy it is or how hard it is to get power cores, the fact that you can no longer jump servers in order to fully repair the fusion core that's currently in your armor means you can no longer go farm up a bunch of 20%ers, pop them in one at a time while you're farming, and then hop between servers to fill them up to 100 and do that until you've got 4 or 5 and dump the rest. It also means that you're not going to be able to baby one core by jumping between servers farming all week long and not have to actually go out and farm up some replacements. So that's a pretty big change. How it plays out in the future and whether or not it makes people use power armor less, we'll just have to wait and see. I know that I personally will still use power armor. There are a number of ways that you can farm cores efficiently if you know the routes and if you don't mind jumping around until you find what you're looking for. I can always do videos on those if you find that you need them. Just let me know. Quests and events. Get the supply drop event now will remove the holotape once used with the supply crate belonging to the player that requested the supply drop. Quest daily missile silo. Quest rewards are now correctly obtainable only once per day. That's a pretty big change. Before, every time you went to launch a nuke, you would get the quest rewards for launching it every single day, or every single time you launched. It was actually a pretty effective way to farm up some loot while you were launching nukes. I'm not sure if that's going to really deter people from doing it, but it's definitely going to make people want to do it less to help out other people. The more they take away from people's ability to further their own characters while they're doing things that are actually helpful to others, I think the less and less you're going to see people doing it, especially since now, like, the only real place left to farm with nukes that's any good is probably going to be the Scorch Beast Queen, unless you need a certain type of flux. Line in the Sand. They fixed an issue with the quest Line in the Sand where the sonic generator being repaired prevented the player from completing their quest. Recruitment Blues fixed an issue with the objective Find Junk Mail that prevented players who switched worlds from completing the quest. This is one I actually had to delete a character over. When I had my second character that I created, which was a two-handed melee character similar to this, I got to the point where I was doing that quest, and I didn't know at the time that you only needed to do either the Brotherhood or either the Brotherhood of Steel or the Enclave quest in order to launch a nuke. You didn't need to do both. So I thought I had to do that quest, and I had a server crash when I was going to grab the mail, and I couldn't recover it. So it actually forced me out. Now, apparently that's fixed. I wish I still had the character, but I had just deleted it and started over because it wasn't worth the hassle to me. Second helpings. The following location map markers are now available after finishing second helpings, and they added a bunch of different locations for it. Perks. All night long now decreases hunger and thirst growth at night. That makes a lot more sense than what it was before. Before, it just affected how effective hunger and dehydration were on you, so they would just greatly lower how much damage you were taking from those particular things, which wasn't super useful. Overdrive, they fixed an issue where Overdrive was not increasing critical chance percentage properly. Good for those VATS players. Quack Surgeon no longer allows for reviving hostile players. This is good. This was a known abuse technique where someone would kill someone and then revive them and kill them and revive them and kill them. It was kind of annoying. Strange in Numbers effects now scale properly with multiple teammates with and without mutations. So I'm hoping that this means that they fixed it so that it's not breaking certain perks, because there were, certain mutations, because the game wasn't handling fractions of a special point very well and was causing all types of weird things. I'm hoping that that particular fix means that now the fractions are handled correctly, so you can use this at all times without any real negatives. We'll see. That one I still have to play with when my friends get on tonight. Refractor. They fixed an error where each rank of Refractor was doubling energy resistance instead of adding plus 20 as indicated on the perk card. So I never noticed that. I've never had Refractor on any of my characters, so probably a pretty big oversight if it was giving a percentage boost, considering with 200 and 250 energy resistance you can do most content in the game without too much of a hassle. If it was doubling that, though, I'm sure that things got way easier than they were supposed to be. Fireproof now reduces explosion and flame attack damage by 15% per rank. So 45% max increase, which could be very useful. I know that the two-shot explosive players are going to be much happier with that because it'll be harder for them to kill themselves with their own weapons. We'll see how much that plays out. It'll definitely affect PvP. The only thing I'm not sure about is what type of damage is the Scorch Beast and the Scorch Beast Queen attack. If that's explosive damage, that could be a great addition to a lot of different melee builds for waiting them out and getting them down to the ground so you could beat them to death. Happy Camper now functions correctly whether the player is inside or outside of their camp when the perk conditions are refreshed. So apparently the Happy Camper will reduce your food and water consumption correctly now. Apparently there was an issue with that before where if you were outside of your building it was causing some problems. Butcher's Bounty, they fixed an issue that allowed for the Butcher's Bounty perk to trigger again on an already searched creature, which not sure really what the issue was with that. I mean, obviously it was a bug of some kind, but it doesn't really seem game breaking. I don't know. It could be that they were doing that because people were building Brahmin pens and then killing the Brahmin, which wouldn't give you anything, but then searching with Butcher's Bounty did allow you to get meat after that, so you could kind of glitch your way into infinite ribeye steaks. That might still be operating, I'm not sure. I have to test it on my other character to find out, as the ribeye steaks are very, very nice to have on all builds. Okay. The Homebody perk now works as intended when in a claimed public workshop. So that's a good one to have. Party Boy and Girl now affects active alcohol effects on the player. That I like. That I like a lot. It took me a while to figure out just how good the Party Boy effects were from alcohol. But on any of my melee characters now, I take it because the +6 strength that you get from whiskey is a pretty big buff. Let's see, I need the left arm. Okay, in PvP, they've got some changes. So let's take a look at those next. We've got teamed players can no longer unfairly block an attacking player when that player attempts to overtake a workshop. Your teammate will enter PvP with the attacking player. So apparently people had found a way to flag themselves, join a team, and then block the other team from being able to capture points. Interesting. Glad they fixed it. Turrets at workshops will now attack players the workshop owner is engaged in PvP with. I thought that that's how it was working before, but maybe there were some glitches where it wasn't working that way as intended. I'm not sure. I know that when I used to take the ammunition workshop, the one that crafted ammo, I never had that problem because it always attacked without any issues, but I don't know. Maybe there was something I wasn't seeing. Let's see. Underneath the social, blocking a player now also mutes their proximity chat. Thank God. This is a huge quality of life one. When you've got someone on there that, thinks that they're the one and only raid leader when you're just doing a random, regular straight kill of a friggin' Scorch Beast Queen, when you've got an entire team of people who have no problem and are downing it in a timely fashion, and somebody else feels the need to try and take control of the situation and boss people around, it's nice to be able to block them. Or if you get somebody who just wants to be a racist, bigoted asshat, now you can block them as well, and you no longer have to listen to their garbage coming out of their mouth. This was important. This was necessary, especially since they're pushing voice chat so hard on this game. Trade. They fixed an issue where players could view another player's inventory before they can respond to a trade invite. They no longer let trades occur before the requested player has consented to trade, and they fixed an issue where the stash transfer menu would appear empty after previously trading with another player. So it sounds like they're focusing on all these glitches that affect quality of life and people's ability to interact with others. Stimpaks with a set price value, Stimpaks with a price value set to 0 will no longer prompt use instead of accept. And they changed the caps limit for player-to-player trades from 5,000 to 25,000. That's awesome. They needed to do that so that they could make trading safer. It was way too easy for people to be trying to trade high-end legendaries or serums or whatever they were doing and get ripped off. With the 5,000 cap limit, it was really easy for people to agree on a price of, say, 15,000 for something. The other person shows it because they have it, they accept the first 10,000 for it, and then they don't get the item, and the other person's out 10,000 because they can't just set a price of 15,000 on an item. So I'm glad that that's taken care of. Let's see. They fixed a sound issue. Fixed an issue where the voice chat would not always function properly upon exiting the Atomic Shop. Fixed an issue where some Atomic Shop content was missing sound effects. And Waving Santa sound effect will now only play when in an on state. So I'm assuming that that thing was playing at all times for some reason, and that they fixed it. So now it only plays when it's actually doing the emote. I hadn't heard anything about it, but there's a lot of bugs that I'm sure I haven't seen. So I'm glad that they're preemptively taking care of some of this stuff. And the last bit of it, they've got a couple more. Players will no longer receive a pop-up for the Atomic Shop when respawning for the first time. Perk pack opening screen now extends to the edge on 21.9 monitors. Players in the Atomic Shop will, when it's taken offline, will now be notified and pushed back to the main menu. For the PC, the field of view fixed an issue with scope weapons zooming incorrectly when the default field of view setting had been changed. And the last issue fixed an issue where the PvP prompt would appear repeatedly while the same players engaged in combat with each other. So, as you can see, they did a lot of bug fixes today. I'm going to be watching the Reddit forums closely, and I will give you an update on whether or not this patch, like the last one, fixes more than it breaks or breaks more than it fixes, as the last one seemed to cause more issues than it resolved. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Please try and keep it civil. I understand that there are a lot of people who are not happy with Fallout 76, whether they are of the I've never played it, I've just read about it and I hate everything about it, or they're the I've played it and I hate it and I want it to be fixed so that I can love it, or you're like me where you aren't happy with a lot of the bugs but you love the game in spite of its shortcomings. Just be nice to each other. I don't want to have to remove any comments. If you have a point that you'd like to make, please feel free to share it. Doesn't matter if you are an absolute hater of the game or you absolutely love the game and feel that they've done everything right. I would love to hear your opinion on what you think of these changes going forward as I continue to do these updates and keep you apprised of what's going on. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great time.